This is Stefan Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com. Iowa politics is always fascinating, not just during a presidential caucus year, but this year in 2010 it's interesting because, of course, the governor is running for re-election. The Republican senator, Senator Grassley, is up, and the Iowa legislative races are heating up. There was a story this week about Governor Culver, who took a secret trip to Afghanistan to be with the Iowa National Guard and to be there to basically be with the Iowa folks. And unfortunately, the story didn't play as well in the media as it probably should have or sounded like it would. There was immediately a question of, in the middle of a legislative session with some of the most severe budget cuts and really critical restructuring of Iowa government, why it was necessary for the governor to go there now as opposed to perhaps going after the session is over, which should be in late March, early April. And then it precipitated the announcement by Mr. Narcisse, who is an African-American, a Democrat. He actually, I think, chaired or was a member of the Polk County Democratic Committee, served in the legislature, has publications and a radio station, and has been active in the school board in Des Moines. Mr. Narcisse said that he would now be seeking the nomination for Democratic candidate for governor. He also added, by the way, that if he didn't get the nomination, he would run for governor as an independent. So that was probably not very welcome news. And he, in the announcement, criticized the governor, Governor Culver, for being AWOL and being out of Iowa at a time when the legislature was struggling. Then there was a picture that appeared in the Des Moines Register that I found unfortunate. It was a picture of Governor Culver shaking the hand of a U.S. military officer, but unfortunately it was a side shot. He had on a helmet which looked like it was much too small for his head. He had on body armor, bulletproof vest that just didn't seem to fit right, which showed his waistline, which has been expanding. And I recoiled in horror when I suddenly realized why I thought that shot was unfortunate. And that's because it reminded me so much of Michael Dukakis when he was running for president, taking a ride in a U.S. military tank with a tank helmet on that has ear protectors that are supposed to be strapped, but they were flying loose. And if you recall this, those of you who are old enough, people said he looked like Snoopy in the Peanuts cartoon, and it really perhaps didn't destroy his run for president, but it was a source of a lot of ridicule and humor. And I'm afraid that the picture of the governor is a stark reminder to his staff and his campaign organization, which, by the way, is undergoing a major restructuring. There are lots of people leaving the organization and others being hired. But it's a reminder to them, never allow your candidate to wear a funny hat. Never. Even if a helmet isn't really a funny hat, if you put it on a politician, you're going to end up regretting it. I remember when I was covering the Democratic convention in Boston, right before the convention, Senator John Kerry, who was running for president, I think we've got Kerry back here somewhere among our campaign literature too on these posters, decided to go to Cape Canaveral in Florida and to go to the Kennedy Space Center and inspect a space capsule. They dressed him up in a full-body white suit that's looked like what painters would wear when they're painting your house. And then they stuck a protective hood over his head where just his face was showing, was to keep hair and stuff from flying around in that lab. And they took a picture of him, and the picture appeared all over the newspapers. It was horrendous. It was horrible. Let me tell you, and this is not an exaggeration, that he looked as though he had been basically slipped into a condom. And it made him look absurd. And it was all over the news media. The late night shows all showed it and talked about it. And that was another reminder. Don't ever let your candidates dress up in funny stuff. Even if the purpose is serious. This is 2010. This is the viral period in history when anything you do and everything you do will end up getting distributed on the internet and getting commented on. And you want to be as serious as you can. You want to be as Johnny on the spot, get your work done, and you want to not put any hats on. So my advice would be to the Governor Culver's staff to please try and keep the governor from putting anything more on his head, except maybe a cap if the winter gets really cold, and maybe a hooded sweatshirt if he has to go out in the cold. Another insight on politics from Stefan Schmidt, InsiderIowa.com.